Before we get to our show, I have an ask of you, the listener. If you're new to us, or you've enjoyed us for over the last 4+ years and have gotten value out of listening, whether that be a new place to eat or a conversation that you've enjoyed, please consider sending some value our way. If you'd like to send a monetary amount, you can do so via Venmo or PayPal, and we are at Faturday Omaha. That's FATURDAYOMAHA. We would appreciate it, and 20% of those funds will go to a food-based program or charity and add value to other people's lives. If you don't have funds to spare, we'd appreciate your time and skills in sharing us on social, recommending us to others, liking and subscribing to the podcast, or maybe you have awesome skills like graphic design, marketing, or anything else. Email us at FaturdayOmaha@gmail.com. Let's get to our show. You seem hungry. Good thing your table is ready with Faturday Omaha.
Faturday Omaha.
Eat this. I will do an amazing intro, and this is actually me starting my intro right now and saying that this is Dave with Faturday Omaha, and I am fortunate enough to be sitting in the palatial KIOS studios next to some very sweet-looking treats, as a matter of fact, to my left, and an awesome book, and we're going to talk about all this stuff in a minute, but more importantly, I have Elizabeth Pooley sitting with me, and I'm hoping I said your name correctly, and if not, you can throw a donut at me. Owner, operator of Square Doughnut. Elizabeth, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
This is so cool. I appreciate you coordinating, arriving with me here on an evening where Square Doughnut not open today.
Correct.
But let's see. I'm going to this informal poll. Were you at the restaurant? Were you at the bakery at any point today?
Oh, yes. I work 7 days a week.
I figured as much.
Yes.
And that is one of the things that has been learned time and time again is that, first of all, restaurant people are awesome and bakery people are awesome. Everybody in the food industry, and they take their time out to talk to little old me. But even when that door is closed and locked and donuts or whatever are not going out the door, there's always work to be done. So
Always.
My goodness.
Yeah.
So well, first of all, I have to say, I love Square Doughnut. I'm just going to get that out there. No, I am not being compensated in any way for saying that I love Square Doughnut. Two of my favorite donut places in Omaha are on complete opposite sides of town. So you've got Square Doughnut out there, 156th and Maple, right? Mm-hmm. And one of my other favorites is Omaha Classic, Olson's Donuts, down off of 10th and Martha. Mm-hmm. And I love them both dearly for different reasons. One of the things I really enjoy about Square Doughnut is, well, first of all, presentation's awesome. But I like the fact that the donut itself, you can get a glazed donut and it's not super duper sweet. It's just kind of like the right balance of sweetness.
Yes.
And there's another place in Omaha that's kind of a chain that you go get a covered donut or whatever, and it's just like eating this like sugar stack. And there's a time and a place for that.
I agree.
But I like the Square Doughnut approach. But anyway, enough about me and donuts. What is going on at Square Doughnut?
There's always something going on at Square Doughnut because there's always something going on in my head.
Yes.
Right now, the biggest push is getting ready for Valentine's Day.
Oh, yeah.
Got some exciting things happening there. We are also haven't officially unveiled our hot and iced coffee line, but we're getting trained and we're getting used to the hot specialty drinks, the iced latte drinks, and hopefully eventually cold brew drinks just to add to our line. I got tired of seeing everybody else's cups come in the door.
Sure. And I know you had partnered with somebody for a while, so there was always coffee available. So you're striking out on your own coffee mission now.
Yes. In fact, we exclusively use Hardy Coffee at Square Doughnut.
Love Hardy.
And Autumn's been awesome with training us on the next level of the coffee. And we got our espresso machine. And
nice.
So they're just wonderful, wonderful partners. And we're learning from them. And once we perfect that, we'll get that out on social media, and hopefully that'll blow up a little bit.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's super cool. So for Valentine's Day, and depending on when this airs, it may be either before or after, but one of the things that I always think that's cool about Square Doughnut is you guys have like custom donuts and themed donuts, and I've seen letter donuts, and you can make a donut into amazing shapes. So coming up for Valentine's Day, I'm assuming there's some heart-based donuts or something else happening.
Naturally. Excellent. Except they're accessorized like I do all my donuts. I try to take it to the top level of what a donut can be, and it's going to be a heart-shaped donut. It's not overly large. It's a regular heart-shaped donut.
Yeah.
And you'll have about, there's probably 15 choices of fillings you can put that in. And then it'll have the chocolate ganache top with the champagne drizzle.
Ooh.
And then we top it off with the real edible 24-karat gold flakes.
Oh, my gosh.
It's incredible. It tastes delicious, but it's gorgeous.
So, like, if you're going to propose to somebody with a donut, like this is that donut, you could, big ring there. That'd be nice.
That would be incredible. Love that little diamond right in there with the filling and have it pop out right at the little end like a belly button. It'd be great.
Awesome. That's awesome. So, where does your inspiration come from? You said, that your mind is always working. I feel sometimes I'm kind of the same way. If I wake up in the morning and the mind starts rolling, it really doesn't stop. So it sounds like your brain may work in a similar fashion.
It's exhausting living inside my head. It really is. I'm going there's two speeds for me, and my crew knows this. I'm either horizontal and sleeping, or I'm 200 miles an hour.
Yeah.
But a lot of the inspiration is just it comes from everywhere. It can come from something that's already been out there. I just want to really make it fantastic. I want to Elizabethize it.
Nice. Ooh, I like that. That's nice.
Sometimes it comes from just things I want to try, things I want to see. Sometimes it comes from friends or my kids that mention something. Employees will mention something, and then I'll just take it and take it through the 10 steps of my stuff, and that's kind of where it just comes from everywhere.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and everywhere. It's like you're mentioning the heart-shaped donut, and you just, it's like, oh, yeah, okay, there you go. And then and it's a champagne drizzle. Like, it's not like we're just going to put some chocolate ganache in. This is like, wham. It's like, let's step it up a notch there.
Yeah, so. I think even like with my donut of the month now, the creme brulee, which everybody, most people have had creme brulee.
Sure.
But how do you take that donut and make it really, truly, genuinely taste that way without going into a sugar coma?
Yeah.
So in the R&D, there's a lot of trying to figure out not only presentation and flavor profiles, but if it gets too sugary, like we're working on February's donut of the month, and the sugar levels are high, so we're in R&D for that.
Right.
But yeah, there's a lot that goes into that. Probably why I don't announce those till right up until that day, because I am right up to that day.
That's awesome. So R&D in this case, is that raise and donut?
Oh, sorry. That's recipe and development.
Oh, recipe and development.
Yes.
Not even research and development.
No.
That's awesome.
Recipe
That's awesome.
Development, yeah.
So do you eat a lot of donuts in this process?
It's
how do you
funny.
function?
I am not a sugar person.
Oh.
Anybody, the employees would tell you when we go into R&D and I have to taste something, the faces that I make, because I just can't handle a lot of sugar. It's very difficult for me.
Okay.
And I can only max out at a certain number of samples during that R&D, because I'll just get sick.
Sure.
And that's probably why I like my donuts in general not to be overly sweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a trial for me.
No kidding. So do the employees help with the tasting then, and you guys got you?
Yeah,
okay.
like I'll generally, and I obviously encourage anybody to come up with ideas.
Yeah,
I will try any of their ideas, but I know at the end of the day it has to meet certain requirements.
Oh,
certain flavor profiles. It has to be able to be embellished and accessorized. It has to have that look. It has to have that square donut stamp.
I was going to say, square donuts are not boring, and in fact, Elizabeth was so kind, and there are 4 things sitting next to me on the console, and I promise, Todd, if you're listening, I will not get frosting on your console, but 3 very different donuts. I have one with sprinkles, I have one with a very nice looped, I'm guessing it's a cream filled, because I don't see a hole in the middle, but I'm not sure.
Yes.
And then is this one a creme brulee? What is the middle one?
Yes, that is our donut of the month, the creme brulee.
Awesome. Beautiful topper with 3 little blueberries on there, and looks like maybe possibly a sprig of mint. I'm not sure.
Yes, correct.
Excellent. Cool. So very different, and has that. So you're making sure that whatever goes out is not a boring donut.
Yeah, I mean it's our typical ones are chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, and maple. They're just topped. Some have sprinkles, some don't. I mean, that's about as plain as you're going to get with our donuts.
Yeah.
But especially the DOM, the donut of the month, really needs to be something special.
Yeah.
It's really just a highlight. So.
Dave here. Hope you're enjoying our show with Elizabeth Pooley of Square Donut, located at 15825 Maple. And she's also the author of From Scratch. We had a great conversation around food, family, and people, and I hope you enjoy the rest of our show. That was actually one of my first Square Donut encounters many, many moons ago. And I stopped in to get donuts, and I was getting one for my daughter. And you had the Galaxy donut, which had this like mirror glaze type finish on it. It was gorgeous. It was awesome. So you're always doing fun stuff there.
Yeah.
So how did you get into donutry?
Well, prior to Square Donut, I had never made a donut in my life.
Uh-huh.
My daughter went to Auburn University down in Alabama, and she was there obviously for 4 years. And it was the day I drove down to pack up her things and bring her back to Nebraska after she graduated. And her friend wanted to make us breakfast before we hit the road. And in addition to that, he stopped and brought in some donuts, which kind of surprised me because, like I said, I don't really do sweet things.
Yeah.
So he opened the box and they were square. So I was fascinated with that. It was something different. I don't like normal things. So I was really fascinated with that.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'll be polite and I'll taste a donut. And it was incredible.
Nice.
And I ate another one. And I ate another one. And I don't know if I stopped at 3 or 4, but I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. They were that good.
Yeah.
And I just joked that I wish we would have known about this donut shop the 4 years that my daughter had been down there.
You would have been there weekly.
Yes. I mean, every time I went down, I would have been there, which is probably a good thing I didn't know.
Fair enough.
But yeah, they were delicious. And he had just said that it was just a local mom and pop shop tucked away in this little strip mall and, made note of that and moved on.
Yeah.
And got back to Nebraska and got my daughter settled in, and he texted me and he said, by the way, the donut shop's for sale. And to preface this, I was looking for another business to get into at the time.
Okay.
So, and he knew that things were kind of on my radar. And I just laughed. I know the restaurant business. I've been in the restaurant business since I was 14.
I was going to say that's going to be part of you were already getting to what I was going to ask you about was the background. So carry on.
I don't want to get into, I don't like mornings. I know that scratch donuts are very labor intensive. I mean, I really wanted nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
And I shrugged it off and, went down that path of, looking at some other options of things I wanted to do. And this just kept coming back. And then her friend texted me with this guy's number.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, and I put it off. And then eventually I called him.
Yeah.
And I just said, I heard you're selling your donut shop. Why? Things like that.
Sure.
And
if it's making a lot of money, why do you want to sell it?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so we got to talking, and I ended up flying back down to Auburn and speaking with him and touring his shop.
Yeah.
Asked a lot of questions, and we visited a little bit, and that turned into several more visits. And I ended up deciding, to make a long story short, that I wasn't going to move to Alabama to own a business.
Sure.
That I'd have to bring it up here. This is where I live. This is where I want to do my business.
Yeah.
And so I just bought his equipment and his recipes.
Got you. Okay.
And within a month, I learned in 3 visits how to make donuts.
Oh my gosh.
Between my iPhone and an iPad and recording and notes, literally had 3 visits to learn how to make these donuts.
Wow. And you had never made a donut prior?
Never.
Wow.
Never. And never in this industry.
Wow.
I've never been in that part of the bakery industry.
Yeah.
So I was pretty nervous, but bought it. He packed everything in a couple trucks. It got delivered up here, and I shoved them in a storage unit. Everything was in a storage unit.
Oh, my goodness.
And then the process had to start.
Yeah.
Because I was already in.
Wow.
So I just started.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was crazy.
Wow. And what, just real quick without going too deep and causing any PTSD or anything else, what areas of the restaurant industry had you worked in prior, or what had you done?
Mostly waiting tables.
Got
it was,
okay.
In all the fine dining, the quick serve,
yeah.
The franchises, the small business, all of it, waiting tables, and seeing the managers and the owners and just staffing and success and unsuccessful and,
Sure.
seeing everything from the good, bad, and the ugly.
Got you. Yeah, definitely the wide variety of things depending on when and where and those things. So, and what pivoted from, waiting tables and things to sparking your entrepreneurial spirit of like, I'm going to open a business?
I've always had my own businesses.
Cool.
I always say I started my first business was at 11 when I was breeding hamsters to earn money.
Nice.
Buy my basketball shoes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We weren't, we didn't have a lot of money, and those were luxuries. So,
sure.
And then I moved on, and I had a plant maintenance company,
okay.
and kind of just moved from there, and had a pumpkin patch, and started to do a coffee shop, and now Square Doughnut.
Yeah.
But entrepreneurship has always been in me. I do go into a little bit of that in my book, the beginnings of that and how it started. And honestly, I've just never been good at 9 to 5.
Sure.
I just can't. I just can't sit. I do things. What I have found in an office environment faster, something that may take somebody 5 hours, I'm done in an hour because I want to go home.
Got you.
So I can't sit in an office job. I didn't mind waiting tables, but I think I was more intrigued with how they were running the businesses.
Oh, okay.
And I watched managers and owners, and I watched reactions between the employees and the leadership, and it just was always there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't think I'd own a restaurant per se.
Okay.
But it was such a second skin that I maybe think sometimes looking back at purchasing the recipes for Square Doughnut, I was in my wheelhouse somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
So I'm creative. I'm good at marketing, branding. I can figure this out.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So I'm interested also because of other activities that I do, because this isn't the only thing that I do, but that'd be cool if it was. Anyway. Hey, it's Dave here. Today we have Elizabeth Pooley on the show, owner of Square Doughnut and author of From Scratch. We're talking food, we're talking donuts, and we're talking a brief break. We'll be right back. Quick break, and a note that if you'd like to support our show, you can do so via Venmo or PayPal with the handle @FaturdayOmaha. That's FATURDAYOMAHA. And if money isn't the thing, but you have talents or time you can lend our way, just shoot us an email at SaturdayOmaha@gmail.com or share and interact with us on social and help us grow. Back to the show. Welcome back to Saturday Omaha. Dave Zorko here, and today we are talking with Elizabeth Pooley of Square Doughnut and author of From Scratch. Our conversation circles around squares, business, and I think maybe we could co-author a management book after this one. You can find Square Doughnut at 15825 Maple Road, and you can find our conversation right now on Saturday Omaha. As far as you're mentioning watching managers and things like that, so from a leadership perspective, since you own your business and you have a team, and like what are some aspects of leading your team or running your business that are distinctly you or at your core value set, I guess, if you're looking for those type of things? Like
not just in my leadership and owning business, but at everything, I really do live by treat others the way you want to be treated.
Yeah.
I've seen how people get treated in the restaurant industry. Well, just in life,
Sure.
we've seen that, people pull rank, they get passive aggressive. We've seen all the attitude that goes with things.
Right.
And I just genuinely care for people. And I care a lot about where people are going, whether my employees stay with me or leave me. To me, that's not really what's important to me. It's important to, are they growing? Are they learning from me as a person?
Yeah.
When they leave me, what are they going to remember Elizabeth by? Bad feelings? No. Did they teach? What did I learn something from her? Ultimately, in life and in leadership, I think that's the goal.
I love that.
And to make sure that, you really lift people up, build them up, find their strengths. We don't all have the same strengths.
Agreed.
We don't have the same weaknesses. So we just need to build each other up.
I love that so much because that's, my, there's a book out there, John Maxwell, 5 Levels of Leadership. And the first level of leadership that he defines in the book is, like you said, rank. Doesn't really mean a whole lot. I've got a title. Yes, theoretically, I could boss you around but that's not a good, basis for leadership. And then the second level of leadership is actually getting to know people as people. So you're making a personal connection. Do you understand, that people have families and what do they do outside of work and that kind of thing? And the third level of leadership is showing that you can produce and that you can do things and make things happen. And then the fourth level is actually growing leaders. That's where I see that spark there in your eyes there too of helping teach and grow and nurture and foster those strengths. The fifth level is the hardest one to achieve, but it's training leaders who train leaders.
Yes.
That's kind of way up there somewhere. But I love your approach that you're okay if the employee learns something and leaves the nest or the donut, so to speak, but gains those skills along their way, because those are likely the people that are going to call you 5 years later and say, hey, Elizabeth, look, I'm doing this now. Thank you so much for what you taught me. And that sounds like it's very gratifying to you to help them grow.
It really, really is. I've had people in my journey that have left major impressions with me. And of those people, none of them pulled rank. None of them were, had that ego, so to speak. And I've learned the hard way that sometimes you don't always hire people that come with experience.
Sure.
Like my current head baker now, he was very green. He's never done this. And, the baking he did was with his grandma, and I thought, this is perfect. This is my background.
Yeah.
I can train this stuff. I can't train personalities.
Right.
But I can train skills, and I can try and groom them in the essence of leadership and, compassion and understanding and authority.
Right, right. As we're talking now, we have a holiday coming up, and you have to be able to lead your team through slow times and, double time.
Yes.
And those things. And Square Doughnut has weathered the pandemic and all of these other things. So you've got a lot of ups and downs to deal with through your business.
Yeah, this one has been exceptionally, I would say out of all my businesses, this is hands down been the most challenging.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can say this, but it's really pissed me off the most.
I think we can get that in there, yeah.
The reason is because, when you just keep getting knocked down and you keep getting faced with adversity, I just come up punching. There's no way I'm going to quit.
Yeah.
Unless, there's something that is out of my control.
Sure.
Obviously. But there's just not an option. You just have to keep going.
As we're having this conversation, one of the things you and I kind of talked about beforehand is the current ridiculous price of eggs.
Yes.
Which I'm assuming is affecting you. So how is Square Doughnut dealing with that? We recently lost a bakery near and dear to my heart. Baked After Dark is closing.
Yes.
They're wonderful cinnamon rolls, and Sammy and Alex and Stacy there. Hello, if you're listening to this. We talked to them many times. And so how's Square Doughnut weathering this time as yet another commodity or thing changes price again?
Yeah, my heart goes out to Stacy and her family. They've been through a lot too.
They have.
As some people know, but that just breaks my heart. I think overall, there's not one small business owner that doesn't at some point either take something personally or lose sleep over decisions that they have to make that are going to affect their customers.
Yeah.
And this was no different. My son will tell you that I was really scared to raise my prices. I didn't want to.
Sure.
But it also comes down to if I don't raise my prices, I have to close my doors.
Yeah, and then no one gets donuts.
And no one gets donuts. And so it is very difficult. It's not something we take lightly.
Sure.
It's not off the cuff. There are, there's numbers and there's data that back that up. And,
right.
We have to maintain our margins to give our employees a livable wage.
Right.
And their lifestyle has to be, comfortable enough. Well, we want them to come in happy.
Right.
If they're happy, you come in as a customer. That happiness is, it spreads.
Absolutely.
It all starts right there, with the business costs. And it just boiled down to, I hate to do this, but I got to rip the Band-Aid off. I had to raise my prices and it hurt.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're seeing trickle down from that. I get it. I'm there right with them.
Right.
That's just what you have to do.
Yeah.
It's either that or close. So we understand. We're hoping to make some more deals, offer some more incentives, some more rewards to make that hit a little easier.
Sure.
I will not sacrifice quality.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to do it. I know there's people who do that. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, because I mean, when the product is quality and the consistency has to be there, so that if I got a square donut, 4 months ago and I get one today, hopefully they taste the same, because that's what I'm looking for.
Yes.
And food, I mean, smell and taste are, definitely can bring you back to a whole nother time and place.
Yeah.
Block 16 had a pretty long post about, hey, we have to raise prices too, and here's why. I hope that a lot of Omaha and surrounding areas have been pretty receptive to those things, because they understand. I mean, they see those things going on. And you had mentioned earlier, when you were waiting tables and things like that, and that, you're looking at an environment that sometimes doesn't always treat its employees very well, which has been a very large problem. I think the pandemic, that experience really put a microscope lens on that for a lot of people. I think there's been some good things to come out of that, of people are talking more about things like health insurance, or, like you said, a good living wage and things like that. So you want to keep your employees happy, so that the food that comes out is baked with happiness and love from those employees, right?
Truly. And it's so evident in your staff.
Yeah.
If they're happy at their job. I'm not saying this is going to be their job for life.
Sure.
But when they're coming in and they're clocking in, if they're happy, it really does spread.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think a lot of our customers, if anybody listens to this, that as a customer will know when they walk in, our happiness level is just way high at Square Donut.
I would agree.
We're very chipper and cheery, and we kind of leave our problems at the door. We try to.
Sure.
And I always teach my front end workers, they are my front line. They're my face when I'm not there. It is absolutely critical. Customer service is critical to me, for me to teach them that every single person that you see that opens that door, you don't know what they just dealt with before they come in.
Well said.
If they're not happy, if they're grumpy, if they're not the greatest person in the world, you don't know. They could have just gotten a horrible phone call. Right. They could be dealing with things that would make our lives look, like we're queens and kings. Right. And because we don't know that, we can't judge them. We got to treat them when they come in for the few minutes that they're in there. Are we kind? Is the place filled with love? Are we doing everything we can for them? I mean, obviously we can't make everybody happy, but we try.
Hope you're enjoying our show with Elizabeth Pooley of Square Donut, located at 15825 Maple. She's also the author of From Scratch. I hope you enjoy the rest of our show. So Elizabeth and I are going to teach a management class today. That's what we're going to do. I love what you said there, and we talked about this on the show a couple of times. But there's a phrase out there about assuming positive intent. Like you said, when somebody comes in and they're grumpy, you don't know if they picked up a nail and they've rolled into the parking spot with a flat tire because out on Maple Street some pickup truck dumped a bunch of stuff, or who knows, or maybe they've only got however much money for a coffee and a donut, and that's their splurge for the week or something like that. Or like you said, they got a bad phone call, or they're just having a bad day or anticipating a bad day, and they want a little nice sweet pick me up in the morning or something like that. So
even if they don't know it.
Yeah,
we're going to give it to them so that when they leave, we've done our part. We've spread that human kindness.
Absolutely. So. And what's so interesting about that is that ripple effect, or I think, trickle effect, as you said. If you started, maybe somebody came in and they weren't the happiest and they left and they became happier, then maybe when they get to work, that might flow around and down a little bit too. So,
and you have to trust that. We're not going to see that. And we have to just trust that could be a thing and that we affected somebody's day.
Yeah.
You just have to believe it.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love that so much. This is inspirational donut talk. This is good. And speaking of this, I did not expect you to bring a copy of your book, but I have it here. This is so cool. And it matches very nicely with the sprinkle donut that I have next to me, the pink sprink donut over here. But it's called From Scratch, Create Your Recipe for Happiness and Success in Your Business by Elizabeth Pooley, founder of Square Donut. So what made you decide to write a book? You're an author. Tell me about this.
I am an author. I wrote a book. I've always wanted to write a book.
Yeah.
I did not foresee this type of book being my first book. I ultimately wanted to write children's books and some other things and some memoirs, but this opportunity presented itself through a couple of friends of mine. I don't know if you've met Carol Sprunk with Clout Coffee.
No, huh?
And her editor, Kathy Rigg. And we were at Clout Coffee celebrating one of her anniversaries, and unbeknownst to me, her editor, Kathy, said, hey, have you ever thought about writing a book? And I'm like, yeah, I have. And then it just kind of rolled from there.
Yeah.
And Kathy happened to be a former customer from Pooley's Pumpkin Patch when I had Pooley's Pumpkin Patch.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And she whipped out a picture of her kids on the tire swing at my farm.
What?
And so all of this rolled into, Elizabeth, you should really write a book. And that's what it came to be. And when I decided to write this book, I knew it was going to be a quick read, because I need to, if I really want to get my message across, especially on a topic like this, that's, it's nonfiction.
Sure.
It potentially could, to some people may not be that interesting in business, but it's a quick read so that I can have people finish the book.
Sure.
I want them to gain the experience that I've learned and know the story of Square Doughnut.
Yeah.
There was a lot of adversity from
then
March
and now?
20. Yeah, I mean a lot of adversity, and in comparison, I know there's others who have been through far more than I have, but this was my story, and this is how it came to be.
That's awesome.
So
I am super excited to read this. Just so you know, I attend my book reading. Usually, it's probably something sci-fi, a management book or a business book, and a food book. But in this case, I get to combine two things. I've got food and business all together, and I'm really excited about this. So, and it's funny. Inadvertently, we sort of have talked about the back cover, because I'm just flipping this over now here in front of the microphone. But motivation, opportunity, determination, leadership, grace, self-care, optimism, and wisdom. And we are discussing many of those things on this conversation. So that's very, very cool.
Yeah.
Now, so if somebody wants to pick up a copy of this lovely book, where can they obtain this so that they may read From Scratch by Elizabeth Pooley?
We have copies in the store.
Ooh,
we have
excellent.
the soft copy or the hard copy, the jacket copy, or they can go to Amazon.com. And we also have it in the ebook as well.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah.
So you can, in fact, get a book of Doughnut and coffee all in one location.
Yes, absolutely. And we have the perfect spot for you to sit and read it.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. And so before we continue on with some other things, we probably should address the elephant in the room, and a question that I did not prepare you for. But that is, not all your donuts are square, are they?
No.
All right, so what's the deal, Elizabeth?
That's the
Come
sad
on.
part.
What's going on
That's my
here?
next business.
Okay.
Our cake donuts are round. So for those that don't know, cake donuts are a batter, just like a cake batter. And when you put those in what we call the hopper and you crank the crank to drop them in the oil, they're not square. They are in a round. They don't make anything square. So that's why they are round. They're a batter. Our yeast donuts are dough. Much like when you cut out cookies, you can cut out dough, and it can maintain its shape. So cake donuts cannot maintain their shape because they're a batter. And I would love it if there's any engineers out there to fabricate me an adapter to make me a square cake donut.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
That would be amazing.
Now, did the cake donut recipe, did that come from the same shop that had the original square donut?
So I'm glad you asked. So I bought all these recipes from him. And when I went into my own R&D, I actually only kept his original glazed donut recipe.
Oh.
Everything else that you see at Square Doughnut, I would say, let me think about that. Yeah, everything from Square Doughnut has been changed in one way or another, some form or fashion, and really put my spin on it. So his original glaze and his glaze recipe are very near and dear to my heart.
Sure.
That's what I fell in love with.
Yeah.
And but everything else is basically Square Doughnut.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. See, I did not know that. I was just wondering that. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
But the round ones.
Yeah, we get asked that a lot.
That's super cool.
So
That's super cool.
The kids are really confused when they come in.
They're coming like, wait a minute, the sign says square donut.
Right.
So you could probably teach some interesting math classes with all the donuts.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. It's time to head to a break. Just enough time to take a bite of a donut and a shot of 2% milk, or maybe some almond milk. And then we'll be right back with Elizabeth Pooley of Square Doughnut. So hang on to your fork. Wait, Who eats donuts with a fork? Oh, okay. Maybe I have. Last stop before the end of the show. If you've got value in your life from our show, be that entertainment, information, or maybe just a laugh, please consider sending value our way via Venmo or PayPal with @FaturdayOmaha. That's FATURDAYOMAHA. And 20% of monetary contributions will go to a food-based program or charity. Truly, thank you for listening and all your support. Welcome back to Saturday Omaha. Dave Zorko here, and today we are talking with Elizabeth Pooley of Square Doughnut and author of From Scratch. Our conversation circles around squares, business, and I think maybe we could co-author a management book after this one. You can find Square Doughnut at 15825 Maple Road, and you can find our conversation right now on Saturday Omaha. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about, a little bit about is food memory. So I think you had mentioned possibly baking with your grandmother and some other things there too. But where I love the conversation on this show is, quite often we talk about food and it kind of leads to good memories and thoughts and feelings and things like that. And we even got into management and staff development today. But I guess throughout your life, are there any food memories that really have stuck with you or inspire you? I often give the example of my grandmother's cinnamon rolls. And we'd go travel and visit her. She lived outside in this little tiny itty bitty town in Kansas. And I'd go eat cinnamon rolls and play dominoes with my grandfather. And my dad actually sent me a picture. It's been a couple months, but I think I might have been maybe 7 years old or something like that. I'm not even sure if my brother was around yet. And it's me sitting at the table playing dominoes with them in this little house. And yeah, exactly. I look, I'm like, first of all, I was that small, and it's just so funny because I can remember used to keep score with the mechanical pencil on index cards and all this other stuff. But enough about me.
I like hearing your stories.
So yeah, that and beer rocks. She made really good beer rocks. But anyway, Elizabeth, what about you? What are some good food memories and things that kind of stick with you?
Fortunately and unfortunately, all my memories with food are great. I love food. We're best friends.
Yes.
And I think just, unofficially, I'm a food critic. Just my palate is, I like to think that my palate is, way up there. But a lot of my good memories come from my beloved grandmother. She was Czechoslovakian.
Awesome.
She died at 105, so she lived a long life.
Wow.
And she was the sweetest woman in the world. I don't know how she never lost her temper. I regard her as a saint, but most of my experience came from her. I mean, my mom cooked, of course, but I was a latchkey kid.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So there were a lot of fast prepared meals, in the home. So whenever I was with my grandma, which was quite a lot, just making her sour chicken dumpling soup, her kolaches, everything she made was just, it was delicious.
Yeah.
And everything was from scratch. And she was so patient. So, you got this kid, like you were saying, 6, 7, 8 years old.
Yeah.
We know that we can be irritating when we're that age. But they're just so patient. They don't care if you spill something. They don't care, they're grandparents.
They're happy you're there spending time with them.
Exactly. So I think some of that patience helps you, feel comfortable and relaxed enough to make those mistakes and cook those things. And the food was delicious. And I loved hearing the stories behind her recipes.
Yeah.
That was my biggest influence. My really young age, when my grandparents lived on the farm, she taught me how to milk the cows.
Nice.
And, there's a part in that book about churning butter. She didn't churn butter when I was young, but we had a conversation about it, and I was fascinated with it. So she had shown me how to churn butter. She actually showed me how to do it. They didn't do it regularly, but it was fascinating. I mean, that's just knowledge.
Yeah. Oh,
so
yeah.
It was wonderful.
So I also have a little bit of Czech in my background. And so you said kolaches.
Oh, yeah.
So I have to ask because so I'll tell you about my grandmother's. So she made kolaczkis, little different. So the way that she did them, they are a cream cheese dough, and it's almost a cookie. So it's a very soft. It's. I know you can't see this on the microphone out there, but that's okay. Elizabeth and I are talking. So I'm going to say maybe a 1/4 inch high, about that high, and it's a very. almost flaky dough and a little bit of powdered sugar, and then with jelly in the middle, just like a kolache. So, and I could just eat them all day. You know, she did like a raspberry and apricot, my grandfather's favorite, poppy seed. And so, so tell me about your grandmothers. Are they flatter, more raised? What were they like?
You know, they're very traditional. They weren't, you know, I don't know really in Omaha who to compare them. Well, I do actually. The 6th Street kolache lady.
Oh,
I don't know.
What?
Yeah, I don't know her name. She is from Bennington.
Okay.
She works out of her house.
Uh-huh.
They were the closest thing to my grandmother's kolaches that I've ever had.
Oh, my goodness.
I was almost in tears. They were so good.
Wow.
And not like anything like chains that are out there that, you know, for, you know, whatever reason aren't traditional.
Yeah, the chain that's in town, I don't understand that exactly.
I mean, that's not from our background.
No, that is not what I would call a kolache. Yeah.
But you know, she what I call the traditional kolache.
Yeah.
Did obviously everything from scratch, and yes, we called it moon seed, even though it was poppy seed.
Oh, cool.
And that was my favorite.
Yeah.
And then the prune and the apricot.
Oh,
and
yeah.
she'd do a little bit of the cream cheese underneath the apricot.
Okay.
And they were just a staple. I mean, they were, instead of the cookies, you had kolaches, and they were at every event, every function, every family get together. And thankfully, to this day, my cousin has continued that tradition. And at our Thanksgiving, we have to rent a hall. Our family's so big.
Nice.
And they're there. The kolaches are there. And it's really hard not to just dump them all in my purse.
Seriously, I am with you, and I don't own a purse, but I'm about to. I would buy one or bring a duffel or something, because it's the same thing. Thankfully, my aunt has kind of carried on that tradition. My grandmother is passed. And we were at Christmas here, you know, a little bit ago here, and there they were, all the different flavors and things. And you're right, I just kind of want to take a bag, take the tray, and just kind of tip it, just let them all go.
So good.
Yeah.
I can't stop eating them. It doesn't matter if you're full.
Right.
Think like what you said, it goes back to, it's a memory.
Oh, yeah.
It's a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that is connected. You know, my cousin makes my grandma's kolaches better than anybody, I think. And then I make her sour chicken dumpling soup better than anybody. So,
oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's everybody just gets their little touch.
Now, I don't want to get into family secrets that you don't want to disclose, but I've never had. Tell me about this soup as much as you're willing to divulge.
No, there's no secrets. You know, I don't know about you, but in our family with the Czechs, vinegar is always the secret ingredient.
Gotcha.
We could drink vinegar. It's so good. But vinegar is the secret ingredient in sour chicken dumpling. And you basically just, you put the chicken in there and you boil that whole thing down.
Yeah.
You're starting from scratch there too. And then you add your cream and all your seasonings and your veggies. And then you add your vinegar, and, you know, you just simmer that, and the whole thing just comes together. And it is broth. It's a broth, but it's a cream broth.
Got you.
It's not thick, and it's not real thin like a vegetable soup.
Gotcha.
And then you've got the real chicken in there that cooked right in there. So you made your own stock.
That's the best. That's the best. So do you like whole chicken in the pot type situation, or?
I cut it up. I cut up the whole chicken.
Yeah.
Well, you can leave the chicken whole too, because it'll fall apart.
Right.
I do take out the skin.
Okay.
Because I only eat fried chicken skin.
There's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you just, you simmer that down so that the bones and everything are in there, and you get that stock.
Yeah.
That real good stock, and the chicken falls off, and you remove the bones, and that's when you start adding everything else, and it is so comforting.
That's awesome.
It's like therapy.
Do you skim the top of the stock as you make it, or you just leave it all?
I don't. I leave it all in there.
Leave it all in there.
Yeah, the goods, the num-nums.
Dave here. Hope you're enjoying our show with Elizabeth Pooley of Square Doughnut, located at 15825 Maple. And she's also the author of From Scratch. We had a great conversation around food, family, and people, and I hope you enjoy the rest of our show. I got to check on the dumplings. That was an unintended pun, by the way. Are they the larger? So my grandmother's would be more of a tennis ball, like a big dumpling, like a big hearty dumpling.
Yes.
Okay.
No little dumplings.
No little dumplings.
Just nice, big, fluffy, fat ones.
Yeah.
So good.
Just
cooked right in the broth.
Yes.
Yes. And then if you have to make more, you take those out and you still cook the other ones in the broth.
That's perfect.
So, delicious.
That sounds really, really
I'm
good
starving
right now. Yeah, right. Like I don't know if either one of us have had dinner. I have not yet, and I've got 3 square donuts sitting next to me, and now we're talking about chicken and dumplings and kolach, and that's
it's so good.
Fantastic. That's fantastic. If Square Donut ever makes a kolache, you need to message me or something.
I absolutely will.
I will be there. So that's awesome. Well, since you said that also you like food and you feel you have a good palate, etc. When you're not eating donuts at Square Donut, where do you like to eat around town? What are some places that Elizabeth goes to?
It's interesting. Raising my kids, kind of being a stay-at-home mom, everything was from scratch.
Sure.
So didn't go out to eat a lot. I mean, we did, but we didn't go out to eat a lot. And obviously now, middle-aged, kids grown up, eating out a lot, especially with my kids.
Yeah.
It just kind of depends on what I'm in the mood for. And,
Sure.
I love all different genres of food. We love Yoshitomo.
Oh, yes.
And Koji, of course.
Yeah.
Great steaks. In Omaha, there's a lot of great steakhouses. There's the old school Farmer Brown's.
Yeah.
You have the upper echelon Fleming's and Mahogany.
Sure.
And they're all delicious. I like dives. I like cafes.
Nice.
Like Joe's Cafe.
Yeah.
Where you can go hide out and you can just drink your coffee and
Right.
But yeah, there's so many. My son and I, it's funny. Every time we obviously follow Omaha Food Lovers a lot.
Sure. Lots of good
and
info there.
whenever we see something new, we're tagging each other in it. Or if we haven't been able to make some place that we've said, we have a list in our phones of all the places we're going to try.
Yes.
And as we try them, we just cross them off the list. But we're just obsessed.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's very, very cool.
Yeah.
So I have been to Yoshitomo a couple times. Dave Utterback just doing amazing things there. I haven't made it to Koji yet. So I'm assuming did you get the yakitori or what? Do you remember what you got there?
What's funny, Dave? My son, he'll laugh at me when he hears this. I always have to ask him, what is this and how do you say it and what is it?
Yeah.
And if I don't have him with me, I can't. I don't know. I have these chicken things and they're good. And
I showed up. I ordered. It was delicious.
I had Jack explain everything to me, and then I ordered. And there is not one thing on that menu, and we've tried almost everything that is not delicious.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
And like Blue and Fly, our favorite Chinese restaurant, hands down favorite Chinese restaurant.
Yeah.
We're just food snobs.
That's cool. And I was you had mentioned Omaha Food Lovers. I was watching on there, found out that Blue and Fly does these really beautiful cakes.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
Me. We didn't know either.
Yeah.
We were like, what?
Yeah.
Where'd that come from?
And that's such a neat location too, because they have kind of the more traditional Chinese menu. Like if you want the American favorites, they have those. But if you want something that's considered a little more traditional, they have that too.
Yes.
And I love that. I love that approach that you can do both. But our town has so many cool places to go.
Omaha is really a food hub.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of that.
Absolutely.
We have a lot, and like my son, he loves soup dumplings, and he for a brief time went to NYU in Shanghai.
Oh, cool.
So he firsthand got to taste, the real Chinese food.
Yeah.
So when he came back, he's been educating me ever since.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. I have a friend of mine from Malaysia, and he's like, you need to come over here. He's like, you need to come and visit me sometime in Malaysia because the fried chicken is just different here. And I'm like, I want it all, please. and that's what I love, especially at work, if we do like a potluck or something like that. Thankfully, for many of my teams that I've been on throughout my career, the non-food section of things had a very wonderful, diverse group of folks. And there's nothing like it when you get somebody that brings in the recipe that they make at home or mom made or whatever.
Yeah.
In fact, I had a friend of mine from Cameroon, and so we decided we were both going to make jollof rice. Ooh. And so she brought in rice, how she would make it, and I made an attempt at trying to make a good one, and it was so cool because I got to try hers, and then she's like, I don't know how you got this much flavor in here. Like, this is something like my mom would make, and then that just kind of warmed my heart. It's like, wow, I did you proud here.
Yeah.
It's like, this is cool. So I just love how food is its own language of connection.
Absolutely.
And it's just so cool.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So, I love the culture, the different cultures of food we have here.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Yeah, yeah. And you can get, we've got Ellie's Iles Chinchorron that opened up. So, you can get different areas of Mexico and South America and Indian food. I mean, you've got Kanara, so he's from the Kerala region of India, and you've got it's just fun. It's just fun.
Great. So yes. And, I know that, through that whole pandemic, it was really neat to see people really, I don't know, there was definitely a page turner on going local.
Yeah, there's
COVID
so much support.
really opened that door of support for small business. In restaurants and really that support. Yeah.
So much respect to yourself and all the other business owners that were able to pivot and kind of, there were people setting up online ordering websites, curbside. I just, I interviewed two of the folks from Modern Love kind of recently, and they were doing like a, right at the beginning, like a contactless delivery, but just all the things that everybody had to do to keep their businesses going, make things happen. And one of the things that I am so thankful for is in that really crazy wild time, one of the little bastions of sanity were restaurants and bakeries and places that it was like, I can still get a donut or a sandwich or a burger or Chinese food or Indian food or whatever. And like, there's a little spot of, this is okay. This is a good thing.
Yeah, I think it brought comfort where we were all searching for some comfort and, like you said, some sanity, some normality. It's just
absolutely.
It really was,
pretty wild.
Yeah,
pretty wild. And then, of course, as we were talking about towards the beginning, the financial situation and things like that. Things are still all up and down all over the place, and the labor market is really challenging to find people. And oh my goodness! So
I hope it all shakes out.
I think so. And I can tell you are driven, and I love the fact that like you said, you're kind of running at high speed all the time, but with that goal on quality and growing your staff and all of those things. So yes, you're running at that high speed with all of these noble goals of delivering good things and achieving what you need to achieve, and you've overcome these speed bumps and challenges and things, and even starting with you never made a donut before, and you're making awesome donuts. So that's very, very cool.
Yeah.
So before we kind of close her down here, Elizabeth Pooley, anything else that you would like to get out there for the listeners about local food, Square Doughnut, anything in general?
Nothing in particular. Our Valentine's Day donut coming up, our new coffee line coming out, and there's another business concept coming down the pipeline.
Ooh.
I don't know if it's going to be a year or two, or maybe sooner if we're lucky.
Okay.
Definitely will be a fun concept still in food.
Nice.
So I'm excited about that, and just keep plugging away at Square Doughnut and trying to make people happy.
Perfect. And so right now, and I would tell listeners when you listen to this, always check social media and websites for hours and things like that. But currently, as we are speaking, where can I find Square Doughnut, and what are your hours right at this exact moment?
I'm really glad you brought that up, because that was something I wanted to say in small business post-COVID. Us small business owners, you really do need to check social media for the hours, because we make judgment calls, and it's just not run like it typically used to be back in the day.
Right. Sometimes daily you have to do those things. Yeah.
So you can find us on all platforms of social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Website is squaredoughnutomaha.com. We're at 156th and Maple area, 15825 West Maple to be exact.
Perfect.
And we're sandwiched between La Mesa and Boss Studios. And
excellent.
And we're Tuesday through Sunday, 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. unless we sell out sooner.
Got you. Like a good barbecue spot. If they're when they're done, they're done. So that's fantastic.
And we're scratch, so we can't just go back and make more donuts. And a lot of people think we can, but we don't have frozen product. We can't just go
Got to be
pop
fresh.
it in there.
I love it. I love it. Well, yeah, you're actually at a good confluence of food there because you could have breakfast at Square Doughnut and get a donut, and then you could go over and see Blaine at Porky Butts and get some barbecue.
Yeah.
And then head over to Cow Niao and get some Thai food for dinner. Yeah. Good area.
Brutal.
So, now we're just going to be super hungry here. So if you're just joining as we're kind of winding down here, don't forget you can go check out Elizabeth's book, From Scratch. They have it at Square Doughnut and Amazon, and I'm super excited to read this. So this is very, very cool.
Thank you.
So, well, Elizabeth, thank you for your time. Thank you for coming here on your day. I'm going to do air quotes, day off, because you were working anyway. And of course, taking your time here. So Elizabeth Pooley, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Dave. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, as we say on Saturday Omaha, I'm Dave Zorko. And until we eat again, stay hungry. Bye, everybody.
Our show is recorded and produced by Saturday Omaha. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, as well as email SaturdayOmaha@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and stay hungry.
Saturday Omaha.
Eat this.